This is a Headgum podcast.
Back to life, back to reality, back to life, back to reality, back to life, back to reality, back to the here and now, yeah. Wow, that song is a banger. That is Back to Life by Soul to Soul, okay? I love that song. Guess what, y'all? We're in a brand new year this year. We're in the year 1992, a year we've never been in before, and a year that I am honestly thrilled to be back in. According to MrPopCulture.com, 1992 can be described as, quote, the pinnacle of pop culture of the 90s. Everything that makes the 90s a memorable era is somehow connected to 1992. End quote. Well, I'm going to continue the quote by saying technology became more advanced. Cable TV allowed you to watch sports at any time, and the internet was knocking at the door. Here are the major highlights from 1992, according again to Mr. Pop Culture. Film. Reservoir Dogs, okay? Iconic Tarantino feature that I actually rewatched on an airplane this past weekend. Aladdin came out. Wow, Batman Returns, one of my favorite Batman movies of all time. A Few Good Men, another legendary film that if you were a cinephile, you'd say A Few Good Men is one of the must-watch movies of all times. You know, it's a Aaron Sorkin classic. Wow, this year is actually huge in pop culture. Then, in music, Nirvana's Nevermind was at the top of the charts. Okay. Crisscross, huge. And Billy Ray Cyrus came out with his debut album with Achy Breaky Heart. And then on top of that, we got the Windows 3.1 laptop released. I mean, holy shit. IBM introduced the ThinkPad. Tevi has a ThinkPad. And 2G mobile phones came out in 1992. JPEG is the standard file, okay, to save photos. And, since my guest this week grew up across the pond, I should mention that FA Premier League was formed. It became the first season of the English top-flight soccer league known as the FA Premier League. Manchester United were the first ones to win the Premier League. Wow. So you're thinking to yourself, okay. Oh, wait, sorry. Really quickly, I just got to say the Chicago Bulls won the 1992 NBA Finals. 1992 was a popping year. And we are in Ilford, Essex, just outside of London. And my guest today is the lovely, the wonderful Sean Maguire.
Hello.
Sean, hi.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining me today on my lovely little podcast. Here on the show, we just talk about your high school experience, which, I've had some guests on before from the UK, and I know that it's like different years are collected than over across the pond. So,
yes.
I just got to know, like, what was happening with you in your teenagedom? What were you like? What was the vibe? What was the culture? It was 1992. A lot has changed.
Yeah. Yes, a lot has changed. 1992 would have been, I think, the year that I left.
Yes.
So I had not, I would describe, the best experience in what you guys call high school, we call secondary school. And right. I went to a Catholic comprehensive school in a suburb of London. And when I joined my secondary school, so from now on, if I say secondary school, that's what I mean, high school.
Yes.
I had just joined the biggest TV show in the country, the biggest children's TV show in the country, which one might think, oh, that would be cool. I bet you had a cool high school experience if you were playing a character. It was a really kind of liked, popular character. on a very, very popular show. There's about nearly 10 million people were watching it twice a week.
Oh
which,
my God.
You just don't get numbers like that anymore because TV and the internet and everything has changed. But so what appears would be like, oh gosh, I bet you were like captain of the football team. Completely the opposite. It was a really unhealthy experience in many ways because, here in America, you guys, if somebody's doing well, you tend to sort of celebrate them.
Right.
In England and Ireland, like my family are Irish, we have what's called tall poppy syndrome.
Oh,
so
yes.
as soon as you get a little higher above the other flowers, then it's time to chop your head off.
Right.
And so I mean, don't get me wrong, it wasn't a complete nightmare. I had some very good friends who are all still my friends to this day. We're all still very tight, all on a WhatsApp together, talking about the World Cup and stuff. And my friends really helped me and got me through it. And it wasn't all bad. But the problem was I joined the school and everybody was aware of, there was about 1,000 students in the school and everybody was aware of me before I was aware of them. And instead of being, hey, that's really cool, you're on a TV show, it was like, swear word, swear word, swear word, swear word.
Right.
Homophobic sort of insult, just a lot of just, and so that's, kind of par for the course really with kids because there's a bit of jealousy or whatever it is. But also the teachers didn't really like having somebody who was on the television in their class. And so, now looking back on it, luckily I had one or two good teachers who really were great and really helped me through it. But some of them were so outlandishly mean that you'd be like in big trouble as a teacher, I think, nowadays for doing some of the things they did.
What would they do?
Just, so I would miss a lot of school because I would have to go off and film the show. And so sometimes a car would pick me up from the school and take me to Grange. That was the name of the television show, the name of the TV show. And it was filmed at a place called Elstree Studios, which is about sort of an hour away from my school. So I'd drive I would get taken an hour and then I would film for 5 or 6 hours and then I'd come back. So I would miss one day, then I'd be there the next. So the teachers would sometimes, if I'd miss a couple of lessons, I'd miss chemistry, for example. I had a chemistry teacher called Mr. Judge, aptly named, who was a complete vindictive bastard. And, I've always have been a very curious person and a curious student. And so I'd miss stuff. And then I'd be like, sir, can I ask what was that? Oh, look, everyone. Look who needs to know something. Oh, it's the TV star. Oh, did the TV star not get all of the... And I'd be like, this seems a bit mean given that I'm 10. Couldn't you, given that you're a grown man and I'm a child and you're behaving in a just absolutely horrific fashion. And I went to a school, it was a Catholic comprehensive, which meant we had to wear school uniforms. And they were very regimental about this. You would have a tie and a blazer and you're allowed wear, because England's cold most of the year, you're allowed wear a jumper, a sweater, but it had to be a V-neck sweater so that you could see the school tie, don't you know? Of course. So if you wore a round neck sweater, is it called a crew neck sweater?
A crew neck, yeah.
So if you wore a crew neck sweater, no, that would be confiscated and you'll get that back at the end of the term. So I wore
At the end of the term?
The end of the term, yeah.
Not even the end of the day?
No. The end of the semester. It was the end of the semester.
God.
So what I remember going at the end of the term to go to get my jumper back from this unthinkable bastard. And he got the sweater and then as he went to hand it to me, I reached out to get it and he just dropped it on the floor. And I remember it's one of those moments that really kind of burned into my memory because it was a massive moment in my young life. Because I remember thinking, I'll never forget it as long as I live. And he dropped it on the floor. And as I just looked at him like, are you serious, man? So as I bent down to pick it up, he said to me, he kind of leant forward and went, you'll never make it. You do know that.
Oh my God.
I know. And it was, as horrific as that is, sometimes you don't understand those moments when they're happening to you, what is really taking place in your life and in the landscape of your world. But it became such a definitive moment in my life. I just remember looking at him really as serious as a 10, 11-year-old could be. And I looked into his eyes and I went, oh, yes, I will.
Yeah.
And I just grabbed the sweater, and I remember walking home, like stamping the pavement going, if nothing else in my life, I am going to make a success of myself, and I'm going to go back to that man, and I'm going to stick it to him. Mr. Judge, I will. And it was such a huge moment. And even though it was a horrible thing to do to a young person, in a weird way, it was a definitive moment that really made me go, I will never quit. I will never give up. I will fight harder than anybody else to make myself get where I am trying to go. And so in an ironic way, I'm sort of grateful to him because it was one of those really formative moments where I just realized I can never quit. I can never give up. I can never fold. I can never fall to the ground. I'm like, I've got to fight. I've got to make this work. So in a weird way, I'm sort of grateful to him because, I've been very lucky and I've had a nice career so far. So, I think, but I'll tell you something kind of funny. So luckily then things went better and my career did better. And I left that show because my dad said, look, actors, they don't really make a success of themselves more often than not. You should probably leave and focus on your studies and on your exams. My dad's a very wise man. And I thought, you're right. And I left the most popular show in the country to study, to concentrate on my schoolwork. And then as soon as I left that show, I was offered another show and then another. And then I ended up being in the biggest show in the country and then becoming really quite well known as a result of that. And after I left that show, then I decided that I wanted to really go back and try to learn the craft of acting and everything. And so I took on my first play, which was Romeo and Juliet, and which was terrifying. And so I had to go back.
Who were you in Romeo and Juliet?
I played Romeo. And so I had to go. I went back to my school because, I'd missed a lot of my education and I felt like the rest of my life I've been trying to catch up and try to compensate for that lack of. So I went back to one of the few teachers that was really nice to me was my English teacher. And I thought, I'm going to go talk to her. She'll help me understand the text, help me understand the play. And at this point, because I'd done okay for myself and I'd made a little bit of money and stuff, and I'd bought a BMW, which was a little bit of a bit of a flashy car for a kid of 18 or whatever I was. And I'd long forgotten about Mr. Judge. And he was a science teacher in the chemistry labs. And I parked right outside his classroom, not even thinking about him. And at that moment, so I parked my big shiny car. And just at that moment, he came out and he went, oh, hello, Maguire. And I looked at him and then he looked at me, looked at the car, and then I looked at him and I went, hello, sir. Beep, beep. Locked the doors really and just walked off. And it was one of those moments I was like, suck it.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess I did make it, and you're still here, aren't you? So I had a little bit of revenge on the evil Mr. Judge.
I wonder what Mr. Judge is up to now. I wonder was he old? Was he like old?
No, he wasn't. He wasn't that old then. I mean, I guess, everybody seems old when you're 10. But he probably was in his mid to late 30s. I heard something bad happen to him. Not that I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
I mean, of course not. But sometimes you got to say karma's a bitch, honey.
Karma is a bitch. Karma is a bitch. And also, I mean, even if you don't believe in karma, because there's a lot of people out there in the world right now doing some pretty evil things that should have had a giant piano land on their head by now. That hasn't happened. So I'm a bit indifferent. I would say a piano
is too gracious, honestly.
I'm being kind. An anvil on certain people's heads. But you know what? I love that expression that the moral arc of the universe bends towards justice. Sometimes we can't see why is someone like Putin still walking around alive and happy, but maybe we just don't know what's going to happen to him. And maybe there's certain people in our country, certain political figures that, aren't particularly nice people, but maybe what's coming to them is just around the bend and they can't see it yet. So, but Mr. Judge, I heard that he ended up having an affair with some other teacher and then got divorced, and then his wife kicked him out. And then I think he was let go from the school, and it seems like his life didn't turn out that great. So I don't know, maybe being hateful to 10 and 11-year-olds isn't the best course of action.
No, absolutely not.
Still, we wish him well.
Oh my God, wow. Who knew you were like a world-famous teen child actor? I certainly did not.
Well,
crazy.
but in England, I kind of grew up on television in England, and then I moved over to America when I was 23, and so I'd already had quite a long career and done a few things before I got here. So it was a good training ground for coming to the big stage that is America.
I can only imagine how challenging it is, though, to be in your adolescence. Also, what people don't realize, I think, about child actors or teen actors is that that's a full-time job. Like, you are a working person. And I think outside of the fame and outside of the glitz and glamour that people associate with this business, like, you are working a real job while also going to school.
Yeah.
And that's so hard. Did you come from a big family? Like, was your family involved in entertainment at all?
I do have a big family. My mother and father and my 5 siblings are all sort of theatrical. My mother and father run the biggest Irish dancing school in London, which, if you don't know what Irish dancing is, think of Riverdance.
Oh, first of all, I am obsessed with Irish dance, and it's all that I watch on TikTok. Like, it's the only thing that I watch on TikTok, because I grew up loving Tracy Ullman, and Tracy Ullman's bits about Riverdance still make me cry laughing to this day.
She's so funny. And it's quite rightly, it's a wonderful thing, but quite rightly mockable, because there is something kind of funny about it. But my 5 siblings, 3 or 4 of them have their own schools and teach and stuff like that. So we were all dancing as a kid. We were sort of a bit like the Von Trapp family from The Sound of Music. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
We would turn up and perform like sort of the Irish Osmonds or something. So yeah, we were kind of a bit of a theatrical family. My brothers and sisters all had appeared in movies and stuff, just doing extra work or little bits here and there. None of them were really into it as much as I was, but I made my first film when I was 5, and I had, again, it was one of those very clear moments where I was like, what is this craziness? Yeah. I want to do this forever and ever and a day, and it's never really changed. I mean, even when you have the up and the down times, it's sort of like an everlasting love. And like love, you're going to have your tough years and your tough challenges, but I never want to divorce it. I always want to be with it, so because
Absolutely.
it's a mirror of humanity, acting, you change as a human and you change as an actor, and it's never the same thing twice.
God, from your mouth to God's ears, honey, I feel that way all the time. I'm like, you do become lovesick for it in a way where you're just like, this is the thing, and it's gonna work out, and it's gonna be amazing at times and deeply painful. It's gonna be confusing. It's gonna be crystal clear. It's always a journey.
Yeah.
Did you have a high school, secondary school romance? Did you have any relationships?
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, I was well cast for Romeo because I spent my entire young life just being in love. There was never a day. I used to write letters. There was a girl that I had a huge crush on called Sarah Jane.
Beautiful.
She's still gorgeous. So where my parents live, a lot of my friends and the people I went to school with, they're still around that area. And when I often go back at Christmas, you'll see everybody down the pub and you'll see old school friends, and it's great. And I see her sometimes, and she's still beautiful. She's still a beautiful girl. And I think she's had a nice life. She managed well without me, frankly. But I was obsessed with her, and I used to write love letters to her, and then I would wait at a certain place where I knew she'd pass just to try and give it to her and stuff. And it was It was good. It was, it was unrequited. She did not feel the same way. But I survived, and then I was on to my next crush and my next crush and my next crush. But yeah, that was, whereas other people were involved, I'm a huge football soccer fan, and I love it. It's a big deal for me, and I loved playing it then, but I couldn't care less about watching it or talking about it. All my friends were like, Tottenham, Arsenal, Tottenham. And I was like, guys, you're Neanderthals. I was like, there's girls here, man. Don't you see the girls? We're talking about 11 men running around on a field. There's lady babies here. Come on. And so my whole life was just obsessed with the greater sex, the ladies. So and a lot of ups and downs that came with that.
Did you feel like being in a Catholic school?
Yes.
But did you feel like, in my mind, Catholic schools are very horny because there's so much restraint
100%.
and shame and like all of these themes that kind of create this tension of like
100%
desire.
I mean, to be honest, I think had we been at a Jewish school or a Muslim school or anything, the group of people I grew up with, we'd probably been the same, because we were just a bunch of smoking, drinking, fornicating devils. Do you know what I mean? Religion, I don't know how much it played into it. We were just, the group that I used to hang around with, my older brother Darren is about a year. He was in the year above me at school, and I had 2 or 3 friends that were like my besties in my year. But I really used to hang out with my older brother's year, and I, like I said, I'm still friends with all of them today, and I'm sure they wouldn't mind me saying, because it's the truth. We all, it being England, discovered drinking and smoking and shagging really early, way too early. And
like, how early are we talking about?
I don't know if I should say, because you're recording this, right? Well, put it this way. The dawn of the sexual age came sort of around the sort of, and I'm not saying everybody was doing it.
Sure.
But it was announced that around the 13, 14 age, everyone was like, hey, wouldn't it be good if we did that thing where we're doing a bit of body popping on top of each other, And so, there was a lot of parties where, God, I still can't believe we got away with it. I don't know where the parents were or how we managed to get away with it. But I remember there was one particular party where it was just, everyone was just making out with everybody. It was sort of like some kind of, I don't know what.
It's like a horny teen orgy where no one really has any idea what they're doing.
Nobody knew what they were doing. Nobody had a clue.
Tongues everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, there were lots and lots of stories, but I think we were just all young and very horny and very keen to, how far did you go? Like, did you kiss or did you, do this? Did you do that? There was all that, stupid, youthful kind of, like we're all at the foot of Mount Everest trying to get to the top.
I kind of miss it sometimes.
It was a fun time. I mean, it was a crazy time. I don't, like when you watch those movies like Big or Freaky Friday where the old person goes back and you'll often see the old person go, I don't know if I could go through that again. I don't know if I could do it again because it was hard enough the first time. But it was, you look back and it really was such a cliche, but it was such we weren't innocent, but it was an innocent time. It was pre-personal computers, pre-cell phone, internet porn, all the things that make youthful people now. Every kid I know is like that the whole time now. There was none of that. So everyone was looking up. And normally looking at the girl across the way and, if
you wanted to look at porn, you had to pick up
a magazine. It was, and I remember like me and 2 or 3 mates, you go in, you look the oldest, just go in and buy a couple of chocolate bars or something, then just casually pick up the magazine from the top shelf. Oh, what's the big deal?
Yes, and then, chocolate bars and porn.
Chocolate bars and porn. Incidentally, was the name of my first album. But it was just, again, and I remember, my mum, I thought I was super clever hiding my my porn magazine in my math folder. And then my mum was like, what is this? And I was like, mum finding porn is still it's seared into my brain as a shameful act of what a terrible Catholic I was. But like you say, I mean, tell a kid not to do something, the first thing they're going to go do is that thing. It was just a real, it was like who's the guy? Something Myers, that made all those films in the 80s, made like Animal House and...
Oh, yes. Sure.
It was our high school was a bit like the 80s movie Porky's, we were just a bunch of really stupid, horny little boys running around, just being very silly. But so there were happy memories, but now as a father, the idea of my kids doing what we did would just mortify me beyond belief. So it's funny how things seem different when you're the parent, not the kid.
Of course. I mean, I do have moments, especially on this show, when I talk to everyone about these memories and these stories and these times. I have many moments where I'm like, where the fuck were the parents? Like, where on earth were they? Because I don't know, doing crazy things like drinking and smoking and having sex and all of this stuff in parents' homes, in homes that wasn't my house. It was just, crazy.
My parents would teach, as I said, my parents taught Irish dancing and they had a big school. So they taught, Monday to Friday, we had dancing class every night. So in the rare occasion that we could get out of class, we would, you'd do that thing of, I'm going over to yours, you say you're going over to mine, and then we'll go to the party.
Right,
and then, of course, we all had mountain bikes and BMXs, so we felt like we were like the kids from E.T., and we all thought we were super cool. And then you go over, like, park your bike, snog a girl for 15 minutes. You just used to kiss, just like a washing machine, just like, All right, great. Okay, I hope you're not pregnant. All right, bye. Back on my mountain bike. It's kind of crazy now. Because, time passes quickly. And I'm not one much for looking back because life doesn't really happen in the rearview mirror. I just always trying to look where I'm going. And it's only when I do a podcast or I do an interview and people talk about those days, and especially if I do it with people in England, they're like, we remember you when you were there, because I was very short and I was cheeky and feisty.
I was going to ask, like, what did you look like in high school or in secondary school or in your upbringing? Because I would have pegged you as being like, in my mind, I'm like, well, Mr. Judge also obviously hated you because you were probably like a gorgeous teen.
No, I think I was described as cute a lot because I was about 4 foot nothing, and I didn't kind of hit that growth spurt till I was about sort of 15, 16. So I got a lot of sympathy cuteness, like, oh, you're so cute, and I was like, I don't want to be cute, I want to be hot.
Yeah.
I want to be sexy.
I agree. I hate being described as cute. To this day, if someone says I'm cute, I'm like, a dog is cute.
Yeah, a baby's cute.
I am not cute.
Yeah. But again, beggars can't be choosers. I'll take it if it's that. Oh God, you're disgusting. Go away. I'll be like, no, cute's fine. I'll take fine. If I can get a sympathy snog, I'll take it. You know what I mean? I'm not above such things. I'll take whatever's going, kind of thing. But I think I was lucky because I was short and because I was from a big Irish Catholic family. I learned very quickly about the gift of the gab, being able to be quick on my feet. Because I got bullied quite a lot. Well, bully is the wrong word because I got a lot of trouble. A lot of people wanted to beat me up. I got hit a lot. So I learned to be pretty quick, and I learned to be quick with my mouth and quick with my feet and quick with my fists. Because what I would do is, once I could see, I developed a spidey sense, like that guy's going to hit me in 3, 2, duck, punch, run.
Right.
And then, often it's like, yeah, my girlfriend thinks you're cute. So I'm like, look, dude, it's not my fault if you're stupid and ugly. Hit, duck, run. And so I don't think I endeared myself to a lot of people, but I was just in full survival mode all the time. Everything was just about get through today. Tomorrow might be better. And so, by the time the girls started being a bit sort of more like, oh, you are kind of cute, then that made things worse with the boys. Then they didn't like the guy who was on TV getting the attention from the girls. So, that, again, did not make life easier.
Oh my God. Okay, we're going to throw to a little break and we will be right back. And we're back. I can't believe, kids are cruel. Kids are cruel, but kids also just want to survive. I was also bullied all through all through time. And I was also very short. I was like a short little shrimp. And then I grew when I was maybe 13. And then, when girls get their period, then the growing stops, which I always wanted to be fake. Because I was like, no, it's okay. I'll get my period, but I'll still grow. Mm-hmm. And then I'll be 5'7", and then I'll be the same height as Kate Moss, and then I'll be fine. But people had other plans for me to just stop at a cool 5'3 3/4. So we round that up to 5'4". That's
why the good Lord invented high heels.
Yeah, it's true. My husband is 6'1", and I will put on high heels and I'll be like, it's so crazy that we're the same height right now. And then I'll look in the mirror and he still has 6 inches above me. But do you have a memory of outside of, at really any time in your 16, 17 that just feels so quintessential, that moment that could, I don't know, that defined sort of these years as you then departed to leave and go on and continue being a star in...
I think so. In our school system, you join secondary school about 10 or 11, and then you go through years 1 through 5, and then you can leave legally. You can leave then,
right? Because you can leave when you're 16. Yeah,
you can leave when you're 16. Now, most kids like myself. Then go to do sixth form, which is a 2-year thing, which then leads you, so that's sort of 16, 17, going on 18, and then you have a summer, and then a lot of kids would then go to university, or college or whatever. And so I had left Grange Hill, I'd gone off, made a couple of other shows, I was continually working as an actor, but then going back to school, and then I joined sixth form. With the intention of doing the 2 years and then going to university. And that's when this show called EastEnders, which was
I know
pretty
this
much
show.
It was the biggest show in the country. It was a soap opera, but soaps are very different in England than they are in America. They're sort of more serious drama.
They're good.
Debatable, but I very much watched. And at the time, because this is sort of, again, sort of pre-satellite, pre-internet, there were really only 4 channels in England. And there's about that time, about 55 million people, and 25 million people were watching EastEnders twice a week at that time. So you go from being relatively sort of, I think I know that guy, to you're in everybody's living room twice a week. And so there's a difference between, in my opinion, between being famous, like Barack Obama or LeBron James or... there's famous, and then there's very recognizable. I know that guy. And so I joined this show. So it meant I left sixth form instead of doing the 2 years, the optional 2 years. I left and joined the biggest show in the country. And when I got that job, there was a debate with my parents. Should I do this or should I stay on at school? And my dad was like, well, look, it's the biggest show in the country. If you're serious about being an actor and this is what you want to do with your life, then I suppose you have to go do it. So I remember the day that decision was made, saying to my friends, I'm leaving. I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave school. And I remember taking my school tie off as I was walking out the gates. And I remember taking it off and this sort of feeling of goodbye, shackles, so long, suckers. I'm off now. I'm off on my little magical unicorn to Magicsville. And I do remember sort of throwing the tie behind me and just going, good riddance, you fuckers. Excuse me. Good.
You're allowed. We can.
bleep
You
that out
can
later.
curse all you want.
Oh, you can? Sorry, I never know what the forum is.
No,
but
you
yeah,
can say fuck, cunt, cock, bitch, whore, anything you want.
Good to know. I have those in my back pocket for later.
I know I just taught you a lot of new language just then.
I've never heard such obscenities. That was a pretty defining moment, I think, because that was, this part of my life is now over. Now this next part of the chapter is going to, and then a lot of stuff happened very quickly, and a lot, just becoming very, very recognizable, and then starting to be written about in the newspapers every day, and all of those things. And, sort of beginning to feel like my life was now more under a public microscope, which is a strange transition when you're 16 and, you've just gone through puberty and, all you're thinking about is girls and going out drinking with your pals. And then all of a sudden you've got to be really careful about, because, again, this is, thank God, pre-smartphones.
Yeah.
So not everybody in the world had a camera on them all the time, which is so good, because I would have already been cancelled for some stupid shit I'd done. But, I would go to Ibiza every year with my friend. Like, then when I got to 17, 18, this was the beginning of Ibiza and all of that culture. And, a lot of crazy, wild things. And thank God, we had this system, my friends and I, because I always had like 4 or 5 friends with me. And then people are like, oh my God, do the bloke off EastEnders. Can I get a photo with you? And so we had this trick, because I might be drunk or in some state that was not photographable.
Yes.
So my friends would say, oh, well, why don't you get in it with him and I'll take the photo. This was the system that we have. Yeah. And then what they would do is they would just tilt the camera down and take the picture, cutting all our heads off. So I got a picture. Yeah, I'm gonna tell my friends. Blah blah blah. And then they'd get home and go, "You cut the heads off." Oh, but so we had a clever plan. But of course, now you couldn't get away with that, because they'd be like, "Let me look at the picture. No, I don't like it. I don't like my hair. Can we take it like that?" And all of that. So,
do you know how many people got that photo developed and they were so excited to show it to their friends, and then they were like, "I swear that's him," and they're like, "No, you're fucking lying."
Nah,
they're like, "I
don't
swear."
know.
Like,
I could
look.
be any idiot without a head,
Yeah, just arms and legs.
Yeah, so our system worked well for a while. We had to develop quite a few little systems, so to stop me getting beaten up, to stop me getting stories, printed in the paper, because the English tabloids,
I was going to say, they're the worst.
They are the worst.
Ruthless,
horrible, soulless bastards that just are quite happy to, nowadays they don't matter as much, because social media has completely become the playground for gossip and hateful behavior. So the tabloids sort of don't quite matter as much anymore. But back then they were very important, and they could kind of make or break you. So it was a difficult road to walk.
Crazy. Oh my goodness, is that a knock on the door that I hear? Why, yes it is. We are now in the section of the show called High School Guidance Counselor, and I'm your guidance counselor. It's amazing. I'm also a registered therapist on this show. In this section of the podcast, you can rectify a wrongdoing of your secondary school past. You can say fuck you to someone, as we kind of already did to Mr. Judge. You can apologize to someone. You can use this time to heal any past adolescent wounds, and then you never have to think about them again.
Oh God. Well, there's one or two that, even if you can swear on this show, this story has to go to the grave with just me and the people that know about it. There was some. Oh Jesus! Even just
oh my God! This is really you're putting so much meat on this bone that I'll never get to chew.
Honestly, I can't. I mean, I've told this before to people, but when you look back at your childhood, it's peppered with embarrassing moments and things that you wish you hadn't done or said or whatever. Mine was just more like my life was one long stretch of embarrassment, and then there are a few moments of sanity in between where I wasn't mortified. So it's so difficult for me to kind of pick out just one moment that 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 I can talk about, but because some of my school friends still remember some of these things. But so it's something that I did wrong, or somebody did wrong to me, or
you can just redeem. You can just take. You can say like, for me, I want to use this time to say fuck you to my theater teacher at my high school who never gave me an opportunity, and she was a fucking bitch. And at the same time, I'd like to apologize to a boy who didn't go to my high school, but I led him on very severely. And I would always say that I was going to meet up with him, and I was never ever planning on meeting up with him. And I feel really bad about that to this day, but he's fine, okay? He went to Stanford, and then I think he went to Harvard Law, and I think now he's like way smarter than me and fine.
I mean, to be honest with you, a lot of the things that immediately come to mind are unbroadcastable. And I'm not even joking. But there was one thing which seems fairly innocuous in the great scheme of things now. But so when I was in my first year at school, and I was on this show called Grange, which was quite a big deal and everything, I then got asked, me and two other members of the cast got asked to be on the Terry Wogan show. Now, Americans won't know who Terry Wogan is, but he was sort of the biggest chat show host. It was like being on Johnny Carson or Dick Cavett, or, I suppose to a lesser degree, like being on Colbert or something like that, it was a really, really big deal, very big watched show. And, the presenter, Terry Wogan was away that week on holiday or something, so we had this other stand-in presenter host, and she sort of said to me, and again, I'm 3'4" and I'm this little pipsqueak. She was like, "So is Grange Hill like your real school?" Now, bear in mind, the show Grange Hill that I was on was quite rough. It was sort of dealing with a lot of the issues of the day, bullying, kids without money, kids, drugs, sex, they were kind of hard hitting issues. It was a really big deal in terms of, but a lot of parents, including my own, wouldn't let kids watch Grange Hill because it was a bad influence.
Right.
And so then I ended up being on it. So, of course, we had to be allowed to watch it. But when I was doing this interview, she said, "So is it like, is your real school as rough and dangerous and all of those things as Grange Hill?" And so my answer should have been, "Oh no, my school's lovely. It's a nice Catholic school." And I was like, "Yeah, it's really rough. There's loads of fights. There's bullying. The teachers aren't very nice." And it was, it's sometimes it's worse. I was just telling the truth.
Yeah.
And saying, I thought the TV show was scary, but then the real one is even worse. Yeah, it's terrible. I wouldn't go to that school. Of course, not thinking that what you say is being watched by 10 million people, including the headmaster, including the principal of our school. So when I got to school the next day, a lot of people were like, "I saw you on Wogan. You look stupid. Yeah, you look stupid with stupid sweater on, blah, blah, blah." I was like, "Yeah, whatever. Fuck off." And then I was in class, and then somebody, sort of, it sounds a bit like Hogwarts. Somebody came to our room, and the headmaster would like to see Sean Maguire. And I was like, "Oh, shit. What did I do?" It didn't occur to me, he was watching the TV last night while you completely smashed the school into the ground.
Classic.
So just being brought to the principal's office, as you would call it in America, is terrifying for me. And so I was like, "Yes, hello, sir." And he was like, "Hello. So we saw you on the television last night." And I was like, "Oh, yeah. Oh, okay." And he said, "So are you planning on doing more interviews in the future?" And I was like, "I don't know, sir. I don't really know what I'm doing. It is all new to me." He's like, "Well, if you are, it would be great if you didn't run the school into the ground and make it sound like we're some children's prison where people are beating and stealing." And because, it still had a relatively good reputation, the school at the time. And I guess I'd made it sound like it was some 1970s prison for children. So, and again, that was that thing of going, "Oh gosh, cause and effect. There are consequences. If I say something in an interview, then there are ramifications for that," and so on. So, I mean, that's fairly mild in the great scheme of things. But I did feel bad because I didn't intentionally mean to besmirch the school, but at the same time, I was telling the truth, because I was like, I'm getting my ass kicked every day here, so I don't know what you think we're doing here at this school, but my ass is being handed to me Monday to Friday. So, if you don't want me saying shit about the school, how about getting some security out there for motherfuckers like me?
Change the culture.
Yes. So there was a lot of that, but most of the more dangerous stuff. There was also, as you would typically expect, there was a rival school nearby, and there was always fights between our school and their school.
Classic.
And it was really, without the song and the dance, it was kind of like West Side Story. It was like the Sharks and the Jets, and there was one big fight. One of my friends got into a fight with somebody else, and then it was like tomorrow, here at this time, and it's all going to go down and everything. Now, I'm old-fashioned. I often tell my sons, there are times in life when you have to be brave, but, sometimes the best way to win a war is not me there.
Yeah.
You don't want to turn up to get your ass kicked, as I have had many times, but so there was this big fight that happened outside. It happened at the top of my road of where my house was. And there was, I don't know, maybe 20 or 30 kids from my school. And we're all standing there, we're going to get them and all that. Me, not so much, because I was like, I'm this big.
Yeah, I'm tiny.
I could fight maybe one of their cats or maybe a small Japanese dog, but I'm good with the mouth and the thinking and the quick answers. I'm not so good with the fists. I hit and run. And so we're all standing there acting tough, like we were background in a Michael Jackson video. And then these kids came around the corner. Your memory distorts over time, but there was probably about 12, 13 of them. We outnumbered them like 10 to 1. But after all this gesticulating, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, I'm going to smack them, I'm going to beat them up. These guys came around the corner, everyone was like, shit, they're coming! And everyone just ran and just scattered. But of course, the majority of them all made a beeline to my house.
No.
And some of them, I seem to remember one of them had a chain. I mean, God, I don't know where the hell he was going. I'm bringing my big chain and mace, like he was background in Braveheart or something.
Oh my God.
And so we all ran into my house. And then, as if that wasn't enough, we all ran up and hid in the attic, like they were going to storm the gates of the house. Where are they? Let's go fire to the attic, get them!
I would have done the same thing.
13 or 14 of us hiding in an attic, trying to listen. Are they still out there? I don't know. And it's funny how terrifying all of that was. And then my dad came home and saw these 13, 14 people standing outside, and clearly there's something had gone on. And my dad just says, what the fuck is going on here? Who are you? Feck off home, the lot of you, before I find your parents. And all of these tough guys with chains and dogs and everything. Oh, yeah, all right, so yeah. And all just scarpered in the face of a parent. They all just legged it and ran. But it was sort of that lesson of, how tough we think we are until reality kicks in. So I don't really have an apology to them or to us, but it just, I don't think I thought of that for 25 years, but it's just so funny thinking back that, we're all real tough until the tough arrive.
Exactly.
We run.
If you could go back in time and give your high school self any advice, what would it be?
God, that's a good question. I think I would just say to myself, just stay alive. It will get easier. It will get easier. And, thinking back to that age, I mean, I wanted what I wanted so badly, so much. And, where I grew up, there was, the crashing reality did not allow you to dream or have your head in the clouds. It was you too busy getting your head kicked in. So the idea that me telling myself, I've got to believe I can do this. It just felt like the odds were so against me that I could have a career as an actor. Because also, most child actors implode or end up addicted to drugs, or their career just peters out and stuff like that. Yeah, and to make it, and so many people was saying to me, it's not, it's a long shot. I mean, and not in a mean way, just prepare yourself that the dream will end. And so growing up a Catholic, I would literally go to bed every night and go to sleep praying, just saying, God, please let me make it as an actor. I don't have to win an Oscar. I don't have to win an award. I just want to just make a living as an actor. That's all I'm asking. I just want that one thing, which I know is not easy, but please let me have that. I don't care if I have to, if I have to wait tables or if I have to drive a minicab or whatever it is, I'll do it. I'll do whatever it is, but I have to do this. I cannot let it get away from me. And I think, to go back to my young self and say, don't worry so much. I go to sleep like clenched fists, going, please God, please God, please God, please God. And, I think I missed a lot of when other kids were having fun and laughing and playing. I was too busy in a corner, clenched, going, I've got to make this work. I've got to make this work. And I wish I could remind myself that adult life is not going to be easy either. You've got to give yourself a little bit of a break and don't put so much pressure on yourself. Try to enjoy being 10 and 11 and 12, which I really don't remember. I mean, don't get me wrong. I had good times. I had my brothers and sisters and I have a lot of fond memories, but I just couldn't wait to get out and go be what I wanted to be. And so I think I was often kind of looking towards the horizon at where I wanted to be and not focusing on the present and enjoying being that age. So I think I'd probably tell myself to go easy on yourself, kid. It's, I think that's probably what I'd tell myself.
That's good advice. That's good advice for everyone. Even now, I have moments too where I'm like, I was also a really stressed child, and I spent so much time fantasizing about being an adult and wanting to get to that feeling of success and not needing to deal with the bullshit of kids and teenagers and whatever. And even now I find myself being like, Greta, you just gotta chill. Chill, be in the moment. It's so hard. It's so hard when you have really big dreams and when you think, oh, well, when you're a kid, when I'm 20, when I'm 30, when I'm 40, when I'm then I'll feel at peace. Then I'll feel, and it just never stops. It never stops. It's always evolving. It's always changing.
And I think the thing is, adulthood arrives, and most kids, we're all yearning to grow up so that we can have our freedom, so that we can eat candy all day or play video games all day, because that's what you want when you're 10, 11 years old. Or in my case, I just want to be taking girls on dates. You know what I mean? I want to have a car. I want to look really cool. Yep. And I wanted all of that. But I think, now I have 3 children who are 7, 4, and 1. One of the things I'm really intent on is sort of saying to them, don't look off to the horizon right now. Look where you are. Enjoy now. Enjoy now, because you're young and you're wonderful and you're beautiful and you're happy, and the world outside is so, especially the last, I don't know, I think everything seemed pretty golden and glorious until 9/11 happened, and then the world just changed, and then the last 6 or so years, it just felt like everything's been such a battle, and I just really want my kids I want to protect them from the horribleness of the world, because they'll be in it soon enough, and I want to sort of almost like saying to me as a kid, let's just really enjoy being 7 or 4 or 1, because the real world will come knocking at your door soon enough, and then you're going to have to get in there like the rest of us and deal with the madness that is the modern world. So I want them to just enjoy their childhood. And I'm not one of those people that, that, my childhood was stolen from me. It was not at all. It was all my decision. No. It was my doing. It was my dream. It was my wish. But I knew that it came up with a price, and it did. It came with a price. So I want my kids to really enjoy being young and being carefree for as long as they can.
Well, if you're looking to adopt a 30-something-year-old, actress, writer, can cook, can drive, I'm available.
We were just discussing that, me and my wife, the other day. I said, you know what we don't have? We don't have a 30-something actress living in our house. We should get one of those.
Yeah, we should really foster one just for a little bit.
We'll check Angelina Jolie doesn't want you first. And then if she passes, we'll be making that call. Yeah.
Please. So in the States, we have a thing called senior superlatives, hence the name of my show, which is when your class, if you're unfamiliar, would like hypothesize what you were going to become or give you some stupid thing like class clown or best dressed or whatever.
So your yearbook thing, most likely. Yeah, I'm familiar.
Most likely too. Mm-hmm. Now, what do you think your classmates would have said your superlative would have been?
Oh God, it would. I mean, if we had such a thing, which we did not, it would have been under my picture, wanker, tosser, big head, asshole, flashy. Gay, because that's what people called each other then, because that was, now we don't do that so much because we realise that that's not a cool thing to do, but like gay, wanker, tosser, arsehole, big head.
Tosser? What's tosser? Oh.
Yeah, same as wanker, meaning somebody who pleasures themselves in the privacy of their own attic. It would have just been all. I mean, also, I don't. I've been here now as long as I had lived in England, like 23 years there and 23 years here. And I've been immersed in American culture and played American a lot of times. And I've become an American now, an American citizen. And we have, I know that it exists here, but I think more so in England, especially with men. Mm-hmm. The way that, like, even with my best mates that I went to school with, my brother and my cousins, all of those guys were all on a WhatsApp. We're getting better at it, but you can't really say, I love you, mate, or like, I do, I always did, because I had nothing to lose because everybody called me every name under the sun and I was a sissy, gay, blah, 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 actor anyway. So I was like, I got nothing to lose. So I can speak my mind freely. And I've always told my friends, anybody that I care about, that I love you and you're important and stuff like that. But amongst men, you can't really, because, the way that we show affection is by taking the piss out of each other. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? If someone says, hey, I recently we had a friend of mine, his auntie died and he's one of my best friends. And I said, listen, I'm so sorry I can't be there at the funeral, but, I love you. I love the family and sending love and boys, if you didn't know, the funeral's on this day. And so, it's a sensitive moment. And these are a lot of my guys, they're smart guys. They work in the city. They're well educated. Just underneath dickhead. Soft shite. Do you know what I mean? Because we can't express our real emotions because that might make us look soft or not manly. And I'm like, guys, we don't, we're in our 40s now. We don't have to keep doing this. We can actually say what we feel now without fear. Like, you're all married with children. Calling each other gay is not, and also that's not particularly cool now. We all have gay friends and we kind of know that they don't like that you call that as an insult. So maybe shall we evolve? Puff.
No.
We're stuck in the groove. Well, they are stuck in the groove of that's how we are. And it's just that's how guys are, because we're uncomfortable with expressing care and love for each other and, being a big sissy actor, which I am. I don't care about that. I don't mind telling my friends that I love them because life's short. You never know what's around the corner. And I don't want anything to happen without the people I care about knowing how I feel.
Well, you're the only wanker superlative on our show, and that's what matters to me. Thank you so much for coming on my show. It was so fun to talk with you. You should write a book. I don't say that to many people, but you should write a book. I mean it.
Do you know what? I have a terrible memory for things, probably too much drinking and smoking weed and all the other things. But it's funny when people tell me, do you remember that story? And I'm like, oh my God, I think I blocked a lot of it out.
Sure.
Because so much of it, like half of the book would have to be redacted because to protect the innocent.
It can be a fiction book. Protect yourself.
Do you know what? It's funny. I wrote a script about 20 years ago, which was sort of semi-autobiographical about growing up in Essex in the 80s. And And I'm mildly dyslexic, terrible speller, but I knew what I wanted to write. And it's only recently that a couple of things happened. And I spoke to a cousin of mine in Ireland who's a phenomenal writer, very funny, very sweet. And I said, hey, I'm kind of thinking about doing this again. And she was like, you should so write that. It's to do with Irish dancing, and it's sort of a coming of age story about, discovering girls and drinking and smoking and Irish dancing, which is just weird because it's before anybody really. I used to.
My 3 kinks: drinking, smoking, Irish dancing. I'm in.
So I think I'm going to. We're going to sit down and try and write that. So that's really more about that rite of passage and that young age and stuff. But it's something that I feel like even if nobody wanted to make it, there's something in me that feels that I need to kind of get it.
It's cathartic. It's cathartic to write it and to go through it and to do the process.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to try, and we'll see where it ends up.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This was such a fun conversation. Where can all of the listeners of my podcast? I know that you are a voice on a gorgeous scripted podcast. Is this correct?
That's right. Yeah, there's a show called Borrasca, which is, I think, number 2 in the charts right now. It was one of those things. I got a call and they asked me to do it. This is her 2nd season, and it's a really it's kind of a thriller. It's more of a thriller than a horror, but it's pretty gnarly. I play a character that is the most despicable, evil, hateful. I mean, he's a human trafficker, rapist, murderer, just the worst scum of the earth.
The Holy Trinity.
Yeah. And I often get cast as nice guys and things like that. So it's always a fun thing when you get to sort of delve into the darkness a little bit. And it was kind of fun taking a walk on the dark side and really. So yeah, Borrasca is on wherever you get your podcasts, on Apple and stuff like that. And it's with there's a very popular young actor,
Cole Sprouse.
Yes, thank you, Cole Sprouse. It's sort of his thing. He plays the main character, and I sort of play the villain to his sort of hero. And
love it.
Yeah, so that's out right now.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much for coming on again. And thank you, everyone, for listening this week. As always, stay cool, never change. Until next time, ciao.
That was a Headgum podcast.